How to help a kid with attention issues do his homework and turn it in. That is today's question on Tips on Teens. My name is Kent Toussaint. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm the founder and clinical director of Teen Therapy Center in Woodland Hills, California. I'm also the executive director of the nonprofit organization Child and Teen Counseling, also here in Woodland Hills. Let's jump to today's question. Every Wednesday at noon, I answer your parenting questions right here on Facebook Live. Here's today's question. Most of the time, it is a battle to get my 15-year-old to do his homework. And when he does do it, he then often forgets to turn it in. He says that he wants good grades, but his actions don't reflect that. His older sister was the exact opposite. We had to get her to stop studying and get to sleep and see her friends. So homework has become the bane of all of our existences in this family. But he is a great kid, and when we aren't dealing with homework, we all get along beautifully. I don't want to punish him all the time, and I'm against medicating him to fix the problem. How do I help my son? I think a lot of parents can really relate. A lot of parents are concerned about medications, and rightfully so. There's a lot we don't know about medications. The long-term effects of stimulants on a child. There's studies that show that short-term there is some progress. Long-term, it's questionable. So being wary of medication, I think you have a legitimate question, and that's important to talk to your doctor, talk to your psychiatrist about those concerns if you do. So I think we have to understand that, what's going on. What is the priority here? Is it the grades? Is it the homework? And some people say, yes, that's the homework. And I would encourage you to recognize that there are bigger priorities than just homework or just getting the A or the B or whatever grade you're trying to get. Having a strong and healthy self-esteem, and what builds that? Generally, the connection between parents and children. Having a sense of agency in one's life. A sense, a colleague describes it to me, and I love this description, a sense of autonomy, a sense of mastery, and a sense of purpose. If your kid is really struggling with school, maybe that's not where you focus the autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Maybe that's not the source. I'm not saying he's not smart. There are a lot of really smart kids who struggle in school because they have a hard time focusing. Now, there are other non-medical ways to address this. First, if he's really struggling, you can try to get a 504 plan, which is a plan with the school to give him accommodations. So if he's constantly forgetting to turn his homework in, there's an accommodation so he can turn his homework in late. If your son or daughter is a year or two behind, you can apply for an IEP, an individual educational plan, which is a legal mandate that the school must abide by. You may need to get a school advocate, an education advocate, to help you go through that because they know the process. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. Some schools are more helpful with those. Other schools are not. It just depends on your school and what your kid needs. But what I like about this is this parent brought up several things. That when you're not doing the homework, they get along great. And I think that's important. I think that's really something to strengthen. Make sure you are having moments where you are connecting with your son, that you guys are out throwing a football together, you're playing cards, you're baking brownies. It doesn't matter what it is, you're walking the dog. As long as you're having that connection, your kid can overcome a lot of obstacles. And it's not just the here and now, it's the obstacles throughout life. Because as humans, and I'm going to get very therapist-y here for a moment, we internalize our parents. So we have an internal mom and dad. And they're always yelling at us or giving us praise or showing us love or showing us their disapproval inside here. And it's all imagined, but it's all a projection of how we see ourselves. And those internal parents are heavily influenced by the actual parents. So what kind of parent do you want inside his head? Do you want the parent who is patient? And granted, all of us lose our patience with our kids. I do too. I'm a licensed expert. I lose my patience sometimes, but when we do, it's important that we make up for that. We acknowledge it. We apologize. We take the high road and demonstrate to our children how to apologize, and their feelings are important. Because I would want to focus more on what are his priorities. Are his priorities to get A's? And if they are, not your priorities, but his priorities, then let's work with that. As his priority, I just want to pass high school and I love running track, or I love playing basketball, or I love being outdoors. I can't tell you how many kids who are diagnosed with ADHD, you get them out camping for a week and they're totally different kids. they're out in nature, they don't have their iPhone or their iPad or their Xbox or wherever it is. If you get kids away from screens and out in nature, there's something about being in nature that changes things, or even at the beach, because also they're active. Most of our kids are sedentary. They just sit and they play video games. Get your kids active. Make sure they're involved in physical activities, especially the kids with attention issues. I think it's really important because they usually have a ball of energy. And if they're just sitting there watching YouTube all day, or Netflix, or they're just doing Xbox, they're not getting that energy out, and then so they're just a ball of energy and they can't focus. So I think it's really important. Another thing to consider is visual processing. Now, your kid may have 20/20 vision, but if you have a visual processing issue, that means you may see actually what's going on, but the brain doesn't, the wiring isn't there, so it processes that vision differently. So the words may move around, the letters may jump around, get fuzzy, and that could look a lot like ADHD, even forgetting to turn homework in, inability to focus. And that's when you want to talk to a developmental optometrist to see, if that's what's going on. Then you can do visual therapy and visual exercises to correct that. No medication needed. There's other things to look into. I've had clients with varying levels of success and failure do neurofeedback. I've had people do acupuncture. I've had people do homeopathy or Chinese medicine. I've had people try hypnotherapy. So there's a lot of ways to approach this. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all option. It's really important to explore. Another thing is make sure your kid is getting sleep. Like you said about your daughter who's not getting enough sleep because she's focusing so much on studying. Sleep is huge. If your kid's not getting close to 10 hours of sleep a night, your kid's probably sleep deprived, which means they're not going to be able to focus. And also nutrition. A lot of kids with attention issues love sugars and carbs, and it just creates the sugar spike, and then they fall. They crash and fall. So it may be something you talk to a nutritionist or the pediatrician about how to have a more healthy, balanced diet that's less on sugar and carbs. Again, you want balance, and it's important to talk to a medical professional on how to do that. That's not me. I'm the therapist. I do the emotions. The nutrition, you got to talk to a nutritionist or a doctor for that. So there's a lot of different ways to focus on this. But again, the most important thing is that you have a strong relationship with your kid, and you guys connect and you bond and you have fun. And it's important to be patient and measure what you feel is success, because what your idea of success is may not be his. And just because he just passes with a 2.0 doesn't mean he's not going to be a successful human being in life. You don't need to have a 4.4 and go to Princeton to be successful. There's a lot of people who don't do that, and a lot of people who do go to Princeton who are not successful. And just because you make a lot of money, that does not equal success. Success is internal happiness and satisfaction. Again, having a sense of autonomy, mastery, and purpose. All right. That's Tips on Teens for today. Again, my name is Kent Toussaint. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like your question answered, please email us at tipsonteens@teentherapycenter.com or direct message us right here on Facebook. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Bye-bye.